All right, hello, everyone, and welcome to the seventh session of Star Trek Bastet. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We are an actual play podcast that is role playing using the Star Trek Adventure system by Modiphius Entertainment. Now, we are running this with an interesting premise involving a time traveling Prometheus class, which means that we both have a journey home and time shenanigans, because who doesn't love time shenanigans? Now, of course, don't stress if you can't stick around for the full session or if you missed the previous episodes. The VODs and audio only versions are available on YouTube and most of the popular podcast solutions. Let's see. No real announcements this week, other that tonight will largely be Lower Decks themed. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically a chance for the players and the other characters to roleplay without that sort of Damocles hanging over their heads, some sort of mission to keep them busy stressed. This is quite literally a role play session. I doubt we'll even do any rolling. But on that note, let's just go around and have everyone introduce themselves, starting with the captain.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex. I am playing Lieutenant Abbassy, the ship's Cation acting captain.
Hey everyone, my name is Nikhil and I play Lieutenant Alexio.
Everyone, I'm Dare Wolf. I'm playing Lieutenant Kalos Cater. I skipped you. I went in front of Brian. I am bad. I forgot the order. Wow, I already screwed up the session.
Don't stop introducing yourself.
Nope, I'm Dare Wolf. I'm a guy and I like cats. So, hey, Captain Kitty, let's go. Real bad.
Nice.
I'm Brian. I am at Mind Over Brian on Twitch and on Twitter, but on Twitch I spell it with a 0, and I play. I actually forgot for a second who I play. I play Lieutenant Baylor Droxine, our newly christened first officer.
You had to rub that in right before me, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I play the Benzite Lieutenant and sort of Chief Engineer / Security Officer Tyr Thavarin.
And if you don't know me by now, I'm ELH the Game Master, and let's run our quick little introductory video. Welcome back. So something I like doing for all my Star Trek games especially is having the players do an opening log, and I believe that honor falls to Mr. Tavarin tonight. So Matthew, if you would take it away.
Certainly. Lieutenant Thavarin's log, stardate 21433.1, 22 days after the temporal incident. Much to my surprise and dismay, the crew of the Bastet has elected to use a few days in the 2340s to rest and recuperate. Given the number of temporal incursions we've already encountered, it's clear that we're soldiers in some form of temporal Cold War. But you can't fight a war without any intelligence. Knowing that this timeline has been interfered with by outside hostile forces, should we be more proactive in our attempts to gather information and to counter them? Maybe that's why something like Section 31 exists. Maybe, to preserve the Federation, there have to be people who aren't fit to live in it. I've only just begun to come to terms with the fact that I may never see my father again. Maybe he won't save me or adopt me. Maybe I'll never even be born. Maybe in whatever counts as a real timeline, I wasn't meant to be born. We have to find some way to actually get into this fight in earnest. Lieutenant Tamrochka and Ensign V may be able to help us do just that. They have a ridiculous plan to make use of the tri-link deflector rays on the Bastet to create a series of interlocking chronotonal resonance nodes to generate a more stable and precise temporal aperture. I have to be the dissenting voice. Push them, point out anything that could even potentially go wrong. An officer's first duty is to be the best version of himself that he can. He owes that to every other officer around him. And his second duty is pushing those officers to be their best selves. And we owe it to those who died to live our best lives now, on or off duty. On that note, I admit to being rather intrigued by Tamara. There's a frankness about her that's quite appealing, even if it is crass. She's admittedly brilliant. Her experience growing up as a human on Beta Z, well, that sense of alienation is all too familiar. I think we're all feeling that right now. Aliens from the Federation and from this timeline. That's why we need each other. End log.
All right, you may have one momentum for whatever it means for this sort of session. So today, as I said, this is going to be a Lower Decks episode, which means the players have actually already submitted some scenes they want to take care of. And our first scene for the night will take place in the holodeck between Mr. Alexio and Mr. Tavarin. Now, I should say here that the holodeck is stylized after Voyager's holodeck, meaning that it is a smaller room with tessellating wires on all of the walls. And the program that's currently running is very similar to what we see in TNG a few times, where it's sort of just a dark void, and Tavarin and Alexio are standing in a orange circle of light with phasers kind of pointed up at the darkness, and every once in a while a light will fly by and they'll shoot at the light to try and get points. Basically a target practice scenario, but I'm going to let the players take it from here.
So what I'm imagining is like there's a lot of targets, and Tavarin will like shoot down 5, and Alexio will like zap 1 and be like very satisfied for getting 1 for every 5.
You know, Lieutenant, it's good that we've taken the time out to improve your accuracy rating. I mean, you can do better than this, I'm sure.
Well, I really just wanted to ask you because I thought, what is Tavarin's idea of fun? And all of the ideas seemed pretty boring except for this one. So I figured, you're very stressed right now. You don't like the whole fact that we're taking it easy for a few days. I wanted to engage with you in something that felt just enough like work that it would satisfy you.
Well, if you wanted to relax, I gladly would have gone out for drinks with you, but I suppose target practice is a good enough secondary option.
Well, it's a little window into your world. This is what you like to do, and I'll like kind of like try and do like a trick shot, and it'll be like a big miss, and I'll be like, it was more fun trying it that way.
Well, I can't disagree with your personal flair when it comes to modulation of shield frequencies, so I suppose we're experts in our own respective fields.
Yes, about that, I was noticing you've taken Lieutenant Droxine's promotion rather well. I would think you'd be a little bit more annoyed by that. I thought you were a shoo-in for that job.
And you see that as Alexio is speaking, Tavarin attempts to aim at 2 targets that are crossing by and level 2 quick phaser shots at them and misses both as he grits his teeth. Yes, well, I may not agree with the captain's decision, but he's made it, and it's not my position to question it.
Come on. I know you want to say something. You and Droxine are always fighting. This is going to be difficult for you. I can tell you're going to have to be biting your tongue when he's coming up with ideas and telling you what to do.
Lieutenant Droxine is a Starfleet officer, exactly as I am, and you can see that he is clutching the phaser even more tightly, and the score moves from about 5-1 hits to 4-3 as we go along. And he is perfectly capable of executing his duties in a manner that befits a Starfleet officer. He would not have graduated from the academy if that were not the case.
Oh, Tavarin, I will actually start trying now and zap a few more to just get ahead in the score and be like, you're too easy to needle.
Well, I think I already said we each have our own areas of expertise, and that appears to be one of your skills. Not exactly something that they teach in Starfleet Academy.
Yes, and as you're always trying to be the best at everything, I didn't realize that also expanded to the world of romantic endeavors as well. I've 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 heard that you're excelling there too. What was your course of study there?
Well,
They don't teach that in the academy.
You'd be surprised what they teach at the academy. And Tavarin will sort of level his arm and hit a few different targets as they're flying by. His aim seems to have stabilized. And then he turns back, just glances over his shoulder at Alexio. Maybe I was just following your example with Lieutenant Rulur.
That you finally get one on Alexio, not in terms of like getting under someone's skin. He is like kind of like startles back at that, and I was like, so that's obvious then, is it?
I think I was about to make some sort of joke about anyone with eyes, but that would be in rather poor taste.
This might shock you, Lieutenant Tavarin, but I'm actually no Casanova. Haven't really. It took me a long time to even decide if I wanted a gender. I wasn't really born with one. It took me a long time to decide whether I wanted to live a life similar to folks who keep one form, and then after that, I seem to have missed the time when people are socialized to do their species mating rituals, let's say.
And you see that Thavarin actually stops competing for a moment and mulls over that and orders the holodeck to pause the program.
Sure enough, all the lights stop what they're doing. The score display sort of hovers above you, frozen in place.
I don't really know what to say other than thank you for trusting me with that struggle, that quest to understand who you are and to find yourself. That's not something that I've ever had to go through, so I can't understand it. I've always known that Starfleet was where I belonged, that it was a path that was set out for me before I even knew what that pathway was. So going through that kind of journey of self-discovery is not something that I can really understand. But like I said, I appreciate you being willing to share that with me.
You know, Tavarin, in some ways we're quite different, but for some reason, I just find it easier to tell you things. And even though you say you don't understand, you have a level of empathy that I didn't think. Well, I wouldn't have pegged you for that kind of guy.
That seems like an insult disguised as a compliment, but
those are some of my specialties.
You certainly have a way with words, and I don't want to say manipulation. That sounds a little bit too ugly. But
I'm fine with manipulation.
Well then, a way with words and the manipulation of other people that, well, they don't teach that at Starfleet Academy either. And in fact, I would imagine it's rather frowned upon. But it has... that flexibility has been of use to us, and it may have saved our lives on more than one occasion.
Thank you. You know, it's odd. I've never particularly wanted to be useful to anyone other than myself until we got stuck this adventure. And I think that your example, your ability to just give yourself to something and strive to be the best at it, I envy that, because sometimes I just look at all the freedom I have to choose. And I don't think I particularly make very good or interesting choices. And well, I don't think I'd ever want to be exactly like you, but and I'm actually gonna transform into a Lieutenant Tavarin just for a second. A little bit of that Tavarin attitude might go a long way, and then I'll switch back to my base form.
Please don't ever do that again.
I promise, but you gotta let me have a handicap next time. There is no way I'm gonna beat you at the rate we're going.
Actually, as you say that, you look up. You're within striking distance. Tavarin has 9, you have 7.
Right, but I've also I've ran out of things to make fun of him about. So
Right, this is true. This is very true. Just because I like to, maybe stir the pot a little. Let's make this interesting. Of course, what I'm going to say is no momentum, no threat. These are going to be straight rolls. No determination either. But I would like a control security from each of you. And if you have a focus in handheld energy weapons, that would apply in this instance.
Small arms?
Small arms would also apply.
I want to use augmented ability control, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I was say let's keep a clean gentleman's agreement not to use any tricks. All right, so Tavarin with 2.
Oh, what?
And this is why we did this, because it's interesting. So I think it's one of those things where, if you don't mind me flavoring, Tavarin and Alexio, you kind of nod at each other. The program resumes, and it's actually a masterful display on both of your parts of shooting targets. Maybe there's even a little bit of flair where maybe Alexio does one of those, under the arm or side shots at the targets. And eventually the program completes, and you look up. Alexio has 12, Tavarin has 11.
Damn it.
I'll do you, because you've been so nice to me, I'll do you a favor and I won't tell anyone about this.
No, you won not entirely fairly, but you won regardless using your particular skills. People should know that.
I'm spending 2 threat that there's a chime, and Tavarin, you get a chirp on your badge. This is Tamarochka, the Honey Bunches of Oats. Honey Bunches of Oats, are you there?
There is no one by that name or that strange euphemism or nickname currently in the holodeck.
Oh, well, you're in the holodeck. Well, let me see. Are you... Oh, you lost. Okay, you know what? I'll call back later when you're in a better mood. Bye. It's quiet.
Fucking fantastic.
Oh, well, since you're preaching transparency, in addition to talking about this, I'm also going to have to be very transparent about what I just heard here, right?
See, there's a difference between things that can influence our performance of our duties that are germane to the captain and things that have no relevance to anyone except those of us inside this room. In fact...
Why don't you go ahead and continue to explain the difference over a drink?
Are you buying?
Sure, fine, it is. Let's go.
Fine. Just... fine.
And Tavarin, in what I assume is a very sullen mood, the 2 of you exit the holodeck. And the next scene that has been requested is actually going to be in the captain's ready room. So, Captain Abbassy, you are, of course, in your ready room. reviewing reports, reviewing dossiers, etc., when there's a chime at your door.
Bossy would look up towards the door, think for a minute, enter.
And as the door opens, on the other side is one Lieutenant Cater.
Captain,
Doctor,
you
what
thought about not letting me in for a moment. Why was that?
I do have a lot to look at right now.
Well, sure, but I mean, there's only 8 of us on this ship. I can't be that many reports to read. I'm sorry, I'm being rude again. How are you, Captain? Or really, I came to talk to you because do you have a moment to speak, sir?
As he takes the couple pads, sets them off to the side. What did you need to talk about, Doctor?
So he's gonna pull up the chair, get really close, lean in, and place his hands down, cross in front of him on the table. Captain, how are you doing in your new position of power? Tell me everything.
Abbas just kind of stares for a few minutes. Is that an order from the chief medical officer? Or is this a request?
So Dr. Cater leans back and from like his pocket pulls out a data pad. So you're asking if I'm ordering you, is that correct? Boop, 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 boop. And I enter some notes into the data pad.
Nice.
Which do you prefer it to be?
Please put that down.
Set what down? Just imagine it's not here, it's fine.
Please put that down.
Is that an order or a request?
That is a request from your commanding officer.
Fair. I put the data pad away. But in all seriousness, Captain, I've been thinking about everything that's transpired, and if I'm being honest, one of the ways in which I handle the gravity of the situation is with a bit of humor. You don't seem to be lacking in laughter. You are lacking in laughter. Sorry, I've realized that as a captain, you don't have really anyone else to talk to on the ship, and I thought that maybe I could be someone that you could lend an ear to, since it was my fault that you're in the position of captaincy as it is. Sorry if I got all serious, sir.
It's fine. Well, now it's fine. We have at least some time to sit and relax after all that's happened. You're right, I haven't had the chance to talk to anyone. So perhaps you would be the best choice with your medical experience and being Beta Z.
Well, as I've understood among the species and those that don't transfer thoughts so readily as mine does, reading minds to get answers is often frowned upon. So if you are willing to talk, I prefer just to do that. He's going to lean back for a moment, put his hand on his face, and just kind of look down. I can't help it sometimes, sir, that I have seen inside your mind, and I know that you are questioning yourself. But you shouldn't, sir. You've gotten us so far, no pun intended. You're doing a good job. And my only fear with you at the helm of this ship in the captain's chair is that you will doubt yourself, and in doubting yourself, you will not take action in a moment when you must. So all I want you to hear from me, sir, is that I and the rest of the crew truly do believe in you. And I want you to know I'm not saying this as the medical officer to make you feel better, but because I know what it feels like to keep trying and know when you should quit, but then decide not to. and he just kind of looks off a little bit, kind of gets a little glassy-eyed, and doesn't say anything.
I do have some self-doubt when it comes to sitting in that chair. I'm afraid that I'm going to get everyone here killed.
I believe every captain goes through that, sir. I believe that the burden of any leadership is the fear that you may make the wrong decision, but that is also the gift that is leadership. You get to make those decisions. So all I will ask is that as we proceed forward, because again, I feel it is my burden because I put you there, Captain Kitty. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. I put you there. Just always make a choice. And I believe it's a human colloquial, but don't be afraid to follow your gut. I think it will make the right decision. He's going to look a little uncomfortable for a moment and then glance to the door. I need to go, but if you do need to talk to me, you know where to find me. There's only one of me, and there's only so few of us on the ship. I'll be in the medical bay. Bye. And then he'll run to the door, boop, boop, and run out.
As you run out, I like to imagine that maybe Abbacy just sort of stares after you and maybe just shake your head and go back to your reports. But we're now going to cut to temporal ops / stellar operations as well, where walking in is none other than Lieutenant Droxine. And Ensign V is already there, just sort of observing the timeline, observing the stellar charts of the era. And as the door shuts behind you, Droxine, V, without even looking in your direction, goes, hello, Lieutenant Droxine. How can I help you?
Did you do this to me?
Do what?
Okay. The captain assigned me as first officer, and when the computer logged that as my new position, I got a bunch of like pings to my personal workstation, and I've been clearing them one by one. But you know what one? It won't let me clear is your position on the ship. And every time I tell the ship that you don't have a position, it twigs me again. And now it's chirping at me every 30 minutes. Did you do this to me?
And she stops what she's doing and actually turns around to face you at this point and goes, I'm sorry. Did this thing, this whole human, whatever you want to call it, experience is new to me. Are you saying that you're mad at me because the computer's doing its job?
No, I'm not mad at you. I'm just inquiring whether or not you're trying to drive me crazy.
I mean, if I wanted to drive you crazy, I could think of like 17,000 different ways to do it, but I wouldn't have picked a computer bugging you.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate that it wasn't you, and I apologize if it came across as accusatory. Shh. I apologize if it came across as accusatory.
So, I'm gonna guess you want me to pick a position on the ship then.
That'd be really nice. Then I could put it in the computer and it would stop chirping at me.
Well, I mean,
Did you have? I mean, I literally have every position on the ship open, I think.
well, I don't know. I hate to keep saying this, but I know a lot of things about various different subjects. Where do you think I would be best suited? I mean, obviously I'm here in temporal operations, so Tamarochka doesn't have to be, and sometimes I'm on the bridge aiding out with the operations and science aspects, but you don't need another helm officer. There's two of you. You don't need a first officer because you're here. I think the doctor has everything under control for a betazoid. That doesn't leave much. You know what just occurred to me? I know exactly what position I want.
Oh?
I want to be ship's counselor.
I mean, that would give you a seat on the bridge. Yeah. I mean, yes. You know what? That sounds great. And he pulls the data pad out from his his holster and pushes some buttons, and then like heaves a sigh. Okay. Yeah, that'll totally work. It looks like that's clearing. Oh, you have no idea the immense relief I feel that you aren't mad at me about this, and that you picked a spot that I think is going to be really good.
I'm spending 2 threat that your data pad starts beeping at you again.
Oh, what? No, there's no one. I can't reclassify the commander. No, he's V, thank you very much for taking counseling. I would like to be the first to say that I would love to schedule a session just as soon as you're open. Feel free to pick literally any unassigned space on the ship, all yours. I got to go figure out how to reclassify the captain as missing or as out of action, despite the fact that the ship knows he's here.
Well, and as you start to walk off, she kind of follows you out and goes, let's all go to sick bay. I think we can do 2 birds with 1 stone, I believe is the expression.
Yeah. I mean, we don't do them. That'd be super weird. Sorry. All right. No. Yeah. Let's go.
All right. And as you step on out, the next scene that has been requested is a meeting with Alexio and the captain. And I'm curious, where would you like that meeting to take place?
I think it could happen in the ready room as well.
Ready room as well. All right. We'll go back to the ready room. So again, Captain, you're minding your own business, doing your own thing, when lo and behold, there's another chime at your door.
What now? Enter.
And in steps Mr. Alexio.
Is now not a good time, Captain?
Time is relative to us, it seems. Come, sit down.
Yeah, so I'll wander over to the chair and just be like, I'd ask you what's bothering you, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who have been trying to lend an ear. I'll cut to the chase, Captain. I don't think I have a real job here. I mean, Droxine runs Helm and is excellent at that, as well as being first officer. We have medical taken care of. We have staff in engineering, and Devarin delights in being very clear that he's chief tactical officer and chief science officer and probably chief engineering. I try and help during missions, but I really don't know what to do with myself during off time. And while normally it would be anathema to me to ask for more work, I find I'm going stir crazy. Is there anything I could be helpful with?
There's 10 of us on this ship. I think just about every position is open. Where do you feel? What do you want to do?
Well, that's the thing. I'm trying to figure out where I'd be most useful. And I feel like the only times I've really helped are when we've needed to be deceitful or discreet. I don't know what job that is.
I'm not sure what that would be classified as myself. You've proven quite masterful in tactical situations.
Yes. I wonder if there's some niche I can fill here in while everyone is very busy running the ship. There seems to be little time left over to sort of just look into what's going on. Who's attacking us? Why? It would sort of be an intelligence role, although I'm not part of Starfleet intelligence.
Abasi kind of sits back in his chair, fingers steepled in front of his face as he's thinking. Perhaps, like you said, some form of intelligence. Maybe somebody who takes a deeper look into the time frames and where we are when we end up there. Somebody who can get a deeper understanding of how where we are is different from what we should know of our own history.
You know, reading the room, figuring out people and the situation and the scenario and how I should respond to them is pretty much what I do all the time. It sounds like it'd be a perfect fit, and it would give me something to do other than um, make fun of Tavarin, although that's very fun.
I'm not sure how fun that is myself, but I'll consider what the official title for that would be, if that's what you wish to do.
I mean, it works for me, and I don't particularly need a title. I really mainly needed a project. Um,
I mean,
and
there's, like I said, 10 of us on here. I'd be get. I would be a bit beside myself if I gave some officers titles and not one to everybody.
well, let me know if you think of one. And in the meantime, I haven't really had a chance to talk to you much. You have a lot of people coming in and out of this office for a good reason. I just wanted to say thank you.
For what?
For doing to speak plainly, shittiest job on this ship. I didn't want to do it. Um, and that you didn't either. But literally, it's the one that somebody has to do. I mean, I'm sorry, it sucks.
It's not where I envision myself in even my wildest of fantasies. I would have been happy with a position as chief engineer on an Intrepid class, not as captain on a ship that's temporally dispossessed.
When I found out you were going to be captain, in the back of my head, I thought that poor soul, they're going to eat him alive. And they haven't made it easy. I haven't made it easy. I'll lump myself in there too. But the fact that you're still doing it alone and that we're not dead yet is pretty impressive.
I'm not quite sure I appreciate the fact that you seem to have anticipated that we would be dead by this point.
Oh, I definitely did. Um, I read many scenarios. I thought, there was a chance where I could maybe get out alive and sort of just blend in with the people but I thought at least everyone the fact that the ship is still around, that's I mean it's impressive.
I say, I say that as Alexio's talking, Abasi's ears just slowly start moving backwards. Just that little bit of irritation actually showing through.
This talk was supposed to make you feel better, and it's really not. So I think I'm just gonna excuse myself. But thanks for the job. That's gonna be very helpful. And I'll kind of back out of the they're backing out of the office.
I was not going to say anything, just lets Alexio go. waits for a few minutes. Anybody else?
And there's actually a chime at your door, yes.
Enter.
And in steps not a player character, but actually one of the officers we haven't really touched on a whole lot. One Lieutenant Mir. And she kind of pokes her head and goes, "I'm sorry, sir, is this a bad time?"
No, come on in. Seems like I'm fielding questions and interviews from everybody today.
Well, it is Captain Appreciation Day on some ships, so that does track. She takes a seat. Don't really know how to begin. I guess I could start there. You do know that my host, or my symbiont Mir, has several hosts dating back to the Annex era. Yeah.
I believe I read something about that in your dossier.
Right. Right. Well, I've gotten over mostly what the doc in his good intentions did, but I don't think there's an easy way to say this. I can't seem to recall most of my past memories at this point. Sure, one or two hosts back, but any past the uh, Thomas symbiont, or the not the Thomas symbiont, the host. Sorry, oh, that's not even the right name. And she kind of holds her head almost in her hand. What I'm trying to say, sir, is something has gone wrong tremendously, and I know you need all hands, but I if you could find a trill expert during one of our travels, I need it. I need somebody to fix me.
I if we can find something, I'll be sure that we do. I quite honestly don't know much about the Trill or how the symbiont past hosts and any of that works.
Well, that's part of the problem. We're so damn secretive about the whole process that nobody knows how to treat it properly.
Would this would it be something worthwhile setting course to Trill to try and get resolved?
And she actually kind of looks past you out of your window and says, "Oh, let's see. It's 2344. The Trill aren't a member of the Federation yet. Hell, I don't even think that Trill symbionts have ever even been exposed to the Federation at this point. Um, Actually, now that I think about it, I think one of my past hosts is on Trill right now. So maybe if we go forward in time again, sir, 2369 and forward, that would work. But unfortunately, I think it's too early in the timeline to go there at this point."
So the Abasi will turn to his console, type something in. If we end up forward in the timeline, I think I'm going to make that our first priority.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And she makes to stand as if doing the whole awkward. She said what she wants to and doesn't know how to end the conversation. And as she stands, she goes, there was one other thing, sir. I don't know what it means, but Tamarochka's been very secretive recently. She hasn't really said much to me in the last few days, and let's just say I find that weird. But then again, Tamarochka's weird, so maybe it's nothing.
Abasi again stops to just think about that. Given what I think I've overheard, I'll keep that in mind, but I'm not going to dig too deep into that.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go.
Go ahead and resume your station.
And she exits, and you wait like a good 2 or 3 minutes. You go back to your pads, and thankfully nobody else rings at your door. As we go to our next scene in sickbay. And more specifically, in the holodeck that is part of sickbay. So I imagine, Cater, you've got Relore in there, and I'm going to let you flavor your own scene from here.
So the doctor is sitting at a holographic computer workstation, and there's a mechanism where Relure is in the middle. It's like a giant, like visual screen, and she's got her whole head in there. It almost looks like a giant visor, and there are little beams of energy going to the side of her head. And Cater is sitting in the corner with a holographic cat on his lap, petting it, and like trying to work the instruments. And you can see that his hands kind of shaking the whole time, and he just keeps petting the cat and trying to keep himself cool. All right, Lieutenant Relure, I'm gonna try the pulse again one more time. Now I need you to let me know if you see any color or like a greater devoid or like void of color or nothingness. Does that make sense?
No, but I'll tell you if something changes.
Perfect. All right. Zip, and it's making change.
And she kind of looks around. Well, I have bad news for you, Doctor.
Go ahead.
I only see rainbows. Rainbows, fluffy kittens, unicorns, puppies.
That sounds like hell. We'll fix it. All right. And
I'm just joking, sir. I still don't see anything.
Shit. Damn it. The puppies would have been an improvement, but also a step back. So maybe we're making progress. Yes, we're making progress. Isn't that right, Fluffy? Yes. Good. And the doctor kind of mumbles to himself a little bit for a moment and then stops himself. All right, there's one other thing that I'd like to try. Just stand still and give me just one moment. And he runs over to the door to the holodeck, pushes it, makes a sound like he stomps his foot out the door, makes it sound like he's like leaving, lets it close, and then sneaks over next to her and goes, "Boo, you should see now!" And sees if she jumps and if she can see.
She doesn't jump, she just slowly turns to you. And even though her eyes, are unfocused and don't really look at you, she just looks in your general direction and goes, "You do know I'm full beta Z, Doctor. I can sense where you are in relation to me at all times."
I thought I could scare you back to seeing. I am really running out of ideas here. Really, really running out of ideas.
Oh. Well, Droxine's about to step into sickbay if you want to ping his mind.
Oh, maybe. I mean, he's just a pilot, a good one, a very, very good pilot. But maybe he could steer me in the right direction. Yes, I like where your mind's at. Let's do that. And then I'm going to step out into the main medical bay and look for...
Yeah, and sure enough, moments later, both Ensign V and Lieutenant Droxine step into sickbay, and you almost kind of do one of those, oh, hey, hello, kind of motions between your two groups.
Yeah. Lieutenant Cater, as V steps in, looks both very uncomfortable, but also like he's trying to stay really cool, calm, and collected. And as he talks to Droxine, his eyes keep drifting over to V, just like this like blatant curiosity. Lieutenant Droxine, you had mentioned that you wanted to see me for something about like a robot arm or something. I don't know. I didn't really read the message.
I don't know why that surprises me simultaneously as it doesn't surprise me. I'm having a problem with my cybernetic arm, but that's not why I'm here. First, can you tell me where the stasis field with the commander in it is? I have to prove to the computer that he's in stasis. I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's back over in the corner. And I point at it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Why do you have to do that?
Well, it turns out, as first officer, I need to assign the commander here a station, but he's in stasis, and the computer won't believe me. So,
neat. Congrats on the promotion, sir. Do I have to salute you now? And I salute.
No. What?
Oh, right. No. I don't know.
Do you salute the captain?
Sometimes, when he's not looking.
Right. No, you don't need to salute me. No.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be nice, but no.
Right.
All right.
Hey,
you know what? I'll have to work on this later.
Could you maybe help me with something in the holodeck here, really quick?
Yes.
Yeah, just come here. Just come on over. Just let's take a quick look at this, and then you're gonna go and you're gonna see the device. And Lieutenant Ruler, just come here. Get back in the thing. Just the head and the visor thing. That'd be cool. Yeah.
Well, of course, sir. But real quick, I do want to say thank you for the raid. Thank you, thank you. Hi, raiders. But as you all step into the holodeck, V actually follows you in and is just sort of not really, staying out of the way, just sort of observing everything that's going on.
All right. So, as you know, Lieutenant Roxine, Lieutenant Ruler can't see, and I'm running out of ideas of how to fix that. And I thought maybe, you fly ships. Maybe you could fly her back to seeing clearly. Yeah, I'm out on a limb here.
And Ensign V turns to Droxine very conspicuously and says, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to push our meeting back. I think the doc here needs to go first."
You know what? I've never agreed with somebody saying no to me so hard before. No, yeah, absolutely. Doctor, didn't I only admit I only skimmed the report because I had a bunch of things to read, but didn't you already report to the captain that there was no medical reason why a lieutenant relayer shouldn't be able to see?
I mean, yeah, but also I could be wrong because science is changing all the time. Maybe I'm obsessing over this, and I need somebody to talk to. And he just
well, then it may interest you to know then that Ensign V here is just taking on the role of ship's counselor.
Hello. She waves a little bit.
Oh, cool. Okay. Did you and he's gonna pick up the cat and start petting the cat really quick and just be like, yeah, so do you have time for a meeting later today? I'm busy right now, but
no,
yeah.
I think you have time right now.
Okay.
And she just sort of smiles at you.
And he just keeps petting the cat and kind of twitching. So
hey, Rayler, maybe we should I'll walk you back to the turbolift or somewhere.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is an awkward conversation that we don't need to be privy to.
No. I'll be back, Doctor.
And see you later.
Relure and Droxine step out, leaving Cater alone with Ensign V. And Ensign V just sort of looks up at the holodeck, looks around. Right, holodeck. How does this work? Computer, give me a couch and a chair, a big comfy chair. And of course, your desk dematerializes, as does your cat, as a couch and a chair materializes.
I plop down in the chair, in the couch, and then I pivot around, lay on my back, cross my hands on my chest. I think I'm losing it, Doctor.
You think?
Oh, wait. I know I'm losing it.
There you go.
Yeah. Admittance is the first step to recovery, if I remember. I didn't do very well in psychology. More of a fix it because it's broken and the nerve is severed kind of doctor.
Oh, that's good, because I've never been a psychologist in all of my time, so this is a new experience for me, too.
Oh, good. Oh, shit. Right. So, where to begin?
Well, let's start with a simple one. Tell me about your mother.
Oh, no, we're not going back that far. I really just want to talk about a specific problem, and it's really... I've never failed at any surgery, and I've done quite a few, even though I know it only says, junior lieutenant on my pips here, but I thought I had ruined her eyes forever, and then I fixed them, and yet they still don't work, and I've been obsessing over it. I don't know how to stop obsessing over it. Computer, give me an orange cat.
And I'm going to spend 2 threat that you don't get an orange cat, but you get a black one instead.
Good enough. And he'll pet the black cat. Oh, those are bad luck on Earth. That's what my... No, wait, that's silly. And he'll look back to Lieutenant V and just say, I don't want this to consume me, but as you can see with all these cats, computer, give me more cats. And yeah, there's a bunch of cats.
Those cats start
appear.
Just showing up like tribbles, just materializing in.
I really need some help.
Well, how about this? You're going to tell me exactly why you're obsessing so much. I mean, you've already hinted at it, but I think this runs deeper. And she actually calls for the holodeck to give her a legitimate pad of paper and a pencil and starts scribbling notes as you continue to read off. But we're now going to switch scenes to the Alpha Section Engineering, where four of you, Lieutenant Verissa, Lieutenant Tamarochka, Lieutenant Abassi, or Captain Abassi, and Lieutenant Tavarin, all of you have come here on the request of the captain himself. So, Abassi, what's going on in Alpha Engineering? I think you're also muted.
I was. I have been attempting to work on a new system that I think could be of benefit to us with all of this time travel, more so than just an ancient Klingon cloak system. I do need some help with it. I'm running into a few difficulties that I can't quite wrap my head around.
Well, what is it exactly? What sort of technology are we talking about?
For lack of a better term, a holographic disguise for the ship.
And Verissa kind of nods approvingly and goes, "Ah, stole the idea from the Romulans then. I quite approve."
I figured you would.
Well, how far along are you?
I have the system itself for our visuals pretty much figured out, making use through our secondary and tertiary deflector arrays, potentially in conjunction with the cloak itself. What I wanted to figure out, however, was a way to mask our warp signature as well.
And Tamarochka kind of folds her arm across her chest. Well, I have a few thoughts on that, but, hey, Tavarin, what do you think?
I'm certain that whatever idea that you come up with will be perfectly functional. Once I hear it, then I can judge it.
So, are you going to be doing this from now on? Because otherwise that's going to make things terribly dull.
No, I just need an idea on yours so that I can tear it apart.
Oh, I see. That's how we're doing this. Okay. Well, my idea is to crowdsource the idea. And she looks very pointedly at Tavarin.
That's the coward's way out. You do realize that.
Yes, but I have no problem being coward. It keeps me alive.
Have you ever read Shakespeare?
Is this a flirtation? Because if it is, you're doing a very poor job. And Verissa actually goes with it. Yeah. Sorry, shouldn't laugh.
A coward can die but once. We had to read it at the Academy. I don't even remember what play that was from, but regardless. Well, Captain, if we can oscillate the electron flow through the warp nacelles and the warp nacelle casings, we might be able to create a kind of variable warp field geometry that would mask our signal.
Yeah, see? I crowdsourced an idea. That's a very good idea. Captain, I recommend that.
Well, at least you know good ideas when you see them.
But we have to ensure that this oscillation matches up with what we're masquerading to be.
I believe that's where I come in, says Verissa. What are we wanting to look like right now?
Well, since the idea was adapted from the Romulans, I figured Talis class warbird.
And she goes over to a nearby station, taps in a few commands, and says, well, we are going to have to launch a shuttle in order to test it fully, but take a look. I believe I've put in the correct oscillation to fake the fact that we're using a quantum singularity. Obviously, the hollow emitters look good. Oh, okay, that's odd. I don't want you to take this the wrong way, Captain, but was this a vanity project of yours?
To begin with,
Well, I understand you have good intentions, but, And Tamarochka goes over and says, Oh, I see problem. Yes, I see same problem. I know, right? What does it mean? Well, I think it means that the captain, little preoccupied. And Tavarin, I think it's safe to say that maybe you walk over at this point. You see that the ship is, as far as sensors are concerned, a warbird, but visually, big old black cat in space.
Captain, you may wish to avail yourselves of Ensign V's services. I'm given to understand that she has assumed a role as ship's counselor. This seems like that you might be in a kind of negative headspace with this projection, as it were.
noted. Can we fix it?
Well, yes, very simple to fix. Just need to crosswire here, redirect flow there. Ah, there we go. And I spent 2 threat to sabotage myself. The cat doesn't stop being a cat. You're now just orange. Well, that is interesting.
Would you like me to do that for you? I understand that you have so many, what's the human expression, pots on the stove as you're trying to put out brush fires across the ship.
And she just stares at you for a good minute, just letting that sink in, and goes, You know what? I'm going to be the bigger person here. I am going to go put out fire in main engineering. I know where you sleep. And she leaves. Tamarochka just steps out at this point.
All right.
I don't know if that's supposed to be a threat.
Well, it is Tamarochka. I hope you have grav boots ready, because she's known to cut out power to the grav plating so that you wake up, floating.
I hear that's quite relaxing, actually.
Oh, don't get me wrong, it's quite relaxing, but, not really something you want to wake up to unexpectedly.
Granted.
Also, I just want to clarify 2 things. First, we let the former Q be a counselor?
You'd have to talk with the first officer about that.
Oh, well, I was going to ask something else, but now I see the fact that Mr. Abbasi and Mr. Tavarin need to have a very awkward I'm gonna go. And Verissa just sort of leaves awkwardly out of one of the side entrances to Alpha Engineering, leaving Abbasi and Tavarin alone for a moment.
I'm going to say, as that bit of conversation was going on, Abbasi walked over to one of the consoles and started trying to fix it.
And yeah, give me a control and engineering difficulty of 2.
I don't suppose that I could assist with that.
Sure, yeah, you can assist. Just though, even though you have augmented control, I don't think it applies to assist rolls.
That's right.
Would perhaps Starship Recognition count on this?
I mean, in a weird way, I can see it working, sure.
And computers for programming the system to actually accurately reflect the signal of a warbird?
Yeah, I think that's solid. All right, well, that's 3 successes on the board, and yeah, between the 2 of you, you actually get it to stop being a cat, and it goes to being a quote-unquote regular warbird.
Impressive work, Captain. And you can see that Thavarin is sort of clenching his hands together and worrying them slightly with his sort of thick and clumsy hands or fingers.
You're free to speak freely, Lieutenant.
About what, sir?
Whatever it is Verissa said you have to speak to me about.
Oh, no, sir. It's just that it has nothing to do with what she was talking about. But I don't seem to be myself recently. I mean, this was all of your work. My calculations were off. You might not have said anything, but clearly you corrected them. I can see that now. Earlier today, Alexio beat my high score on the holodeck, and just a few days ago when we were in conflict with the Romulans, I got in your way when you were trying to transport that whoever she was off the Warbird. I'm not myself at the moment, it seems.
I don't think that any of us are the same people we were at the beginning of this journey, and it's only been 3 weeks thereabout.
Yes, but Droxine is taking on more responsibility. You have done the best job that anyone could ask of you as a captain, and I'm failing.
You're not failing, Tavarin. What you were speaking about just now, I'm an engineer as much as you are. We catch what others don't. We work in conjunction, and we get the ship working. We get problems fixed. That's what we do as engineers. We're a team in that respect.
That is true, Captain, but respectfully, if a team member can't pull his own weight, then he doesn't even deserve to be a part of that team.
Not everyone has the same strengths in the same fields as everyone else on that team. We all cover for each other's weaknesses. You're the one who told me we're a family. You're the one who told me, in that regards, I'm like the father. I've been watching you. I've been seeing what you're doing. We wouldn't be where we are right now if you were not here. If you were not doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Captain. I appreciate that, for whatever it's worth. Did you want to say anything or speak with me about anything?
Nothing that's so pressing at the moment.
Very good then, Captain. Shall we continue to refine this holographic cloak that you've developed?
I think it could probably use a little more work. I want to see if we use the Alpha Section's warp core, if that'll improve its stability.
I imagine that creating a greater synchronicity between the various different warp cores of the 3 sections would, in fact, improve the resolution of the holographic image.
All right, let's try that and see what happens.
Very good, Captain.
And as you two set to work, I think that's where we are going to take our 5 to 10 minute break. So we'll be back shortly. Stick around. right. Hello and welcome back, everyone. If you're just tuning in, we're doing sort of a chill Lower Decks episode of Star Trek Bastet. And our next scene is actually going to be in the main conference room where literally everybody on the ship has showed up for the meeting. Well, obviously the commander who's in stasis, but you know what I mean. And I think everyone's sort of looking at Abbacy at this point and just waiting for him to really sort of say, okay, the meeting's begun before they sort of delve in any topics that might come up.
So, the last couple interesting encounters that we've had, especially the last one with that 29th century warbird, we keep hearing something about the temporal Cold War. Does anyone have any knowledge of this whatsoever? And with that said, he's actually going to turn and look directly towards Ensign V.
And it's striking because she is literally sitting opposite you at the conference table. And I think V actually waits to see if anybody else speaks up. Does anybody? All right. So V sighs and says, yeah, figured they would be me. Because again, proximate knowledge and all that. I mean, I'm not really a member of the Q Continuum anymore, so this isn't really breaking any rules other than Starfleet rules, but I don't know. How candid you want me to be, Captain?
From what we know, we're objective observers to time. We need to know everything that we can at this point.
Well, I think it's okay for me to tell you this. I don't think it breaks any Starfleet regulations. Long story short, 29th century rolls around, and by that point, time travel is ubiquitous. Almost everybody's got it, and there's specific agencies set up to make sure that the timeline isn't tampered with. Well, again, long story short, basically there's sort of a stalemate between the major factions, the major players of the time. And she sort of actually looks at Mir at this and says, some of you might remember Archer, Captain Archer, mentioning something about a Daniels character. Let's just say that the temporal Cold War has stretched back even as far as the NX era days, where different factions are trying to, well, for lack of a better term, erase the other factions from existence by messing with time. Now, whether or not that relates to us, it's hard to say. I mean, if we're objective observers, if I was a Q, I could look at you and tell you if that were true, but if you're objective, that means you're on the level of a Q, and that means that you have a sort of importance in events, and I honestly don't know how much more I can say without breaking some temporal prime directive or whatever nonsense there is.
Abbacy looks down towards the table for a few minutes. Looks up. Thoughts? Anybody?
Well, I have to say, I'm curious as to why future Starfleet, if they have such capability, if they've been monitoring for temporal anomalies, haven't just come to help us out and drop us back where we're supposed to be.
And I think Verissa speaks up and says, well, if what the ensign has just told us is correct, we're objective, which means we are outside the normal purview of time, which might seem to indicate, of course, most of this temporal nonsense goes above my head, but it might be the case that they simply just don't see us. We aren't factored into whatever their temporal police force or whatever it's called. We might much simply be off their scopes.
Wouldn't it behoove us then to make them aware of our existence? If the project that's being worked on in engineering is successful and we have some way to transmit ourselves through time, couldn't we go to the 29th century and find the Federation of that era?
And I think Tamarochka, she looks like she's about to make a witty comment, stops herself, and says, "You know what? That's actually a very good idea, Tavarin. It would be way to perhaps talk with experts that are able to talk about this sort of thing. But if I may, Captain, I would simply say that fuck the Prime Directive, fuck the Temporal Prime Directive. Let's have V tell us everything."
That's it. Abasi's gonna take a moment and just look from one officer to the next, try and just gauge what their thought on that is before making up his mind.
Captain, sir. I'll stand up. Lieutenant Kalis Cater, you know who I am, right? So, here's my only concern about going into the future. If they find out that we're objective, does that mean? What if they decide just to delete us or something? And then he'll sit back down.
Doctor, it's the Federation. They wouldn't do something like that.
Are you sure? Are you really sure, Jarvan?
Doctor, I'm sure enough to stake my life on it.
Well, famous last words. And he'll lean back in his chair and ignore the other lieutenant.
And I think V actually kind of does one of those similar hand-raising motions and says, maybe I wasn't clear about the whole objective thing. You are on the level of a Q. Even 29th century Starfleet, as great as they seem to think they are, they can't erase a Q, which means they can't erase us.
Well, then I retract my statement, and you guys can do whatever the hell you want. Thank you for your time.
Well, there's a difference between us and the Q. None of us are possessive of reality warping powers. Are we? Is anybody? Because you have to tell me. I'm the first officer now.
And Rillor kind of raises her hand and says, actually, I would like to report that I have become master of the universe. I want you all to know that I expect fealty on a weekly basis. And she kind of looks around again, eyes distant. Sorry, I can't tell if anyone's smiling. This sucks. I can't make my usual jokes.
So here's the thing: if we and Lieutenant Tamarin, I absolutely hear your point that the Federation that we know wouldn't do something like that. However, we don't know what the Federation consists of or what their morals are in the 29th century. We can hope that they've remained the same. But if we do decide on this course of action, Captain, I would recommend that we gather some intelligence before making our presence known. We just want to be able to know what we're walking into.
I can agree with that. I believe that's what the decision had been as to why we didn't contact the Temporal Bureau in that alternate past future to now.
Yes, and my objections to that remain the same. Mostly that the Temporal Bureau or the Temporal Cold War office or whatever it is we're going to visit, they're going to think the timeline that we're in is the correct one. And we only have our own objective perspective to convince them otherwise. And listen, I don't know about you guys, but since when has Starfleet Command ever believed 10 lieutenants over an entire universe worth of evidence?
Nonetheless, sir, with this future Federation, regardless of their motivations, they must have a way of detecting alterations to the timeline. If we inform them that their adversaries in this temporal Cold War are intervening in it, then surely they would be able to detect it themselves if we just gave them a push in the right direction.
Lieutenant Tavarin, I genuinely, you're better at the engineering than I am, so I don't know. My suspicion would be, just from base level physics, that all their instrumentation would be calibrated to detect their universe as a baseline, which means they would consider what is happening to be normal. We would just appear to have come from either a different quantum reality, or I just don't know that we're going to get the kind of help we want. I'm not saying we shouldn't try it, mind you. I agree with you that the odds are very good that that'll be the quadrant from which the most help comes from. I just think we shouldn't go in with the wool over our eyes, as it were. Let's gather some intelligence like good Starfleet officers and not just walk into an unknown situation unprepared.
Then I'd submit that the only person who can give that to us is Ensign V. She could answer that question for us readily. If there's some kind of technology that the future Federation is in possession of that could allow them to determine that we are from, hopefully, the genuine original timeline that they should be on.
In this instance, Temporal Prime Directive be damned. We need to be able to go into this eyes fully open.
And
Captain, if I may,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I don't disagree with you, but as your first officer, it is my duty to remind you that that is a court-martialable offense, which can result in stripped of rank and 20 years of the stockade. So, just and be mindful that as the commanding officer, you'll end up absolving the rest of us of that crime, or at least in its full degree.
I'm
And
aware.
because I find it funny, Droxine, your pad chirps again.
Oh no. Yeah, I'll get to that later. We have to talk about some things after this, Captain.
All right. And with that, it's going to turn back towards V. Is there anything else you can tell us with what we've just said?
Quite a lot, actually, but I think someone has something they want to say, and she looks very pointedly at Lieutenant Mir, and maybe one by one you all sort of look at her, and Mir sort of has her head almost in her hands, where she's kind of got her two elbows on the table, sort of leaning into her palms of her hands, and goes, "Do we need to go back to our own? I mean, let's pause it for a moment that we're stuck like this forever, objective. We're just going to be on a fool's errand. We're never going to get back to our own reality. At what point do we say this is good enough?"
Well, it's too damn soon to do that now. I mean, come on, everybody. No, just me. Are we giving up?
No, I absolutely agree. I have
Okay.
a posting to get to.
Yeah.
A posting I have spent my entire life working towards.
Yeah.
Strange as it may be, Doctor, I'm in complete agreement with you. We have to at least make the attempt. There are innumerable options we haven't explored yet.
Well, it's not like I'm saying we need to give up, but eventually we're going to get to a point where we're just chasing what's the human expression? A goose chase? Where we're just chasing random birds of point I'm trying to make is that eventually we're going to have to ask ourselves that question and come to a decision one way or the other.
When we get to that point, that's when we'll figure this out. Right now, we still have avenues to pursue to try and get back to our place and time. We should be prepared that it may be a fool's errand.
I mean, it should just be a matter of establishing the entire breadth of the timeline that we interrupted in the first place and figuring out what changed, right?
Not really, considering that we've already interacted with this force from the 29th century, this party involved in the Temporal Cold War. The repercussions of that interplay could be vastly more complicated than anything that we can correct. Nonetheless, we have a duty to defend the Federation, not just of this past, of our time and the future as well.
But I'm sorry. Tavarn, are you suggesting that we owe a greater allegiance to the Federation that exists in this timeline than to the Federation that no longer exists?
Not in the least, but
And
even
temporally, if we were to go back to our initial incursion, we would be able to identify where the timeline split and theoretically reverse it. shouldn't matter what interactions we had after that point. Correct?
Given the complexities of temporal mechanics, which I admittedly am not well versed in, I'm not sure it will be that simple. My point is simply this, that even if we can't get back to our own timeline, and even if it is a fool's errand, we have to keep fighting until the end. That's all.
Well, then that we're in complete agreement.
And I think Ensign waits to see if the conversation does pause there, and she says, all right, well, two things. First, I think I need to lead what I'm about to say next. Yeah, if you don't know already, I'm the new ship's counselor. Hi. I need a meeting from everybody, and I mean everybody, because apparently that's what ship's counselors do, apparently. But no, as far as 29th Century Federation, I mean, again, if I was still a Q, I could literally just look and see that kind of information for you, so it's only what I knew at the time that I left the Continuum. Let me put it this way. The Federation is still the Federation far into the 31st, 35th, far into the future. You're still... This is going to sound hypocritical, but you're still sort of the do-gooders of the galaxy. Misguided at times, but generally good all the same. Are they going to take issue with the fact that they now have to worry about a objective observer messing with their carefully laid plans? Well, of course. I mean, even into the 41st millennium, the Q, the Federation isn't on the level of a Q, but, there's more encounters. The Q show up a whole hell of a lot more. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, and I sort of piggybacking on what Lieutenant Mir just said, at some point, you're going to have to make the decision what timeline you want to be a part of. And you're just going to have to pick that point and live on from such a position. I mean, fixing a timeline, again, if I was a Q, I could wave a hand and fix all of this, but I don't know. I mean, honestly, it's limiting being in this form. I don't have the freedom that I would as a Q, and if I must self-critique, I kind of miss that ability.
Do you want to talk about it?
At a later time. I think we have more pressing concerns. Captain, probably getting a feel from the table, what do you want us to do about the temporal Cold War? Are we gonna go to the 29th century, or...
I think we need to know more about it, because in the position that we're in now, I cannot help but shake this feeling that even without trying, we're going to get involved in it more frequently.
And I think Tamarochka leans back a little bit and says, well, in that case, we are going to be making modifications to cloaking device and or that hollow imager that you came up with, sir. We'll need to figure out a way to inject chronotons into it so that it does not give us away when we go to 29th century.
Do we still have our sensor logs from our encounter with Zaid?
Yes, I believe we do.
I'm proposing that maybe we see if we can find him in this current time frame.
Well, I don't hate to be downputter of ideas, because that is a good idea. We don't have temporal scanners. I mean, yes, I can look at database, I can listen in on Federation channels, glean what I know, But we don't have temporal scanners. We have no way of scanning timeline to see if there is person from 29th, 21st, 5th. Doesn't matter. We have no way of telling where people are in timeline.
But we can keep sensors open for any chronoton disturbances.
Well, yes, of course we can do that. My only concern is, at some point we're either going to have to develop the technology to look through time, or we're going to have to steal it from someone. And I know Tavarin and I are a pretty good pair, but even putting us together with Ensign V, if you want the former option of developing on our own, we're looking at easily 70 years. So, I mean, if you want to spend 70 years like this, by all means, but I don't.
I would much prefer not to. That's also if an opportunity to steal said device even presents itself to us.
Well, on that note, as Barissa leans forward, the next time we encounter a 29th century ship, perhaps we should make it our top priority to acquire some of their technology. I believe Lieutenant Alexio and I could acquire such things rather easily if given the right order.
Well, I don't know about easily. It'd be a challenge, but I think we could do it.
Oh, but that's half the fun.
Agreed.
Well, I think we have several plans of action to undertake.
And as everybody sort of looks at one another to see if any other points of orders come up, I think there's kind of that little moment of silence, and then Relore speaks up and says, okay, so this is going to sound weird because, you know, whole blind thing, but I was thinking about sprucing up 2 forward. I don't know. From what I remember, it was a pretty drab place, just a table in the middle of a room, you know, little kitchenette in the side, little replicator. Like, can we spruce it up? Anybody good at interior decorating?
I agree. It's a little boring. Oh, it could use a touch of class, I think. Maybe a bar area, somewhere I could make cocktails for people.
It sounds like Lieutenant Raylor and Lieutenant Alexio have just volunteered themselves the project.
Well, yeah, that was going to be my other question. Where the hell are people getting all this alcohol from? And Tamaroch goes, nowhere in the hall.
Wait, where are people getting alcohol from? I just hacked my my replicator.
I think that's what we're all doing.
Oh, okay, good. I thought maybe I was missing something.
Yes, that is totally what we are doing. Yes, there are no legal stills on board. We are just replicating things.
Of course.
Yep, because things that are replicated are just as good as things we make. Just as the same.
Better, in fact, they have a higher nutritional content.
But there you go. If Tavarin says it, must be true.
Doctor, is that true? Is there a higher nutritional content in replicator food?
You know what? I am gonna say yes. Yes, there is. And then I give Tamarochka a very, very knowing and not well hidden wink.
Huh.
I think that brings this meeting to adjourn.
Tamarochka, can we talk about the distillery that you don't have? There's something that I don't want
God
you to...
damn it, Gator! We were trying to be diplomatic about the... You know what? I don't care anymore. Yes, we'll have conversation outside.
Yes! And he, walks out all proud.
Alright, so Tamarochka and Cater go off to have that conversation. Anybody else want to leave as a group?
Yeah, I mean, I'll head out with Riller to go to 2 forward.
Alright, so you two step out. Tavarin, you and Droxine gonna walk out together? You're gonna linger a little bit?
I suppose I'll leave with Roxy.
Yeah.
Well,
sounds good.
Droxine actually, now that I said that, I think Droxine actually had something for the captain, so maybe Droxine is lingering.
I have like 3 extra pips on my data pad that have to do with getting the captain to sign off on some stuff, but it'll wait. Tavarin clearly looks like he needs somebody to walk out with, so I don't want to leave him.
I'll actually approach Ensign V and inform her that we might as well get over this psychological evaluation that she wants to have, and I'd like to see her credentials, because is she actually an accredited Starfleet counselor?
And I think she kind of looks at you and laughs and says, not gonna lie, I totally looked into that before the meeting and took the exam, passed that thing with flying colors.
This is calling into question all of my beliefs about Starfleet and the Federation.
Or maybe I'm just that awesome. But no, just run along down to sick bay. I took the corner office, the one with the window looking out on the operating bay. I also put in a new couch. Nice big comfy red couch.
I'll see you down there. Counselor? Doctor?
You
Let's
just
see.
call me V. I don't really like the whole ranking thing anyway.
Thank you, V. I will see you in sickbay.
So Devarin steps out. Varissa and Mir also similarly filter out, leaving Avicii, Droxine, and V just sort of looking at one another. And V very pointedly looks at Droxine in a way that would suggest, hey, I need to have a conversation with the captain, but not in a way that would be like, hey, get the hell out, but just a very, you can go first, but I also need to talk to the captain kind of a thing.
All right. Captain, I have a couple things I need you to sign off on here. Just duty assignments. You'll notice that V has been assigned as counselor. She seems very qualified. Also, I just needed to clear that off my schedule. You'll also see that there's a shuttle maintenance schedule and a transporter update that needs your sign off before I can cross those off of my. Did you know that this was going to be a thing, by the way? Because this seems like a thing you would know.
Bassi reaches out, takes the pad. I may have had some knowledge about it.
If you were dealing with us and something like this from the beginning, my God, man, you are a much stronger cat than I thought.
Bassi hands the pad back, everything, the 3 items signed off. Yeah, I was dealing with all of this too.
All right. Well, I think Ensign B wants to have a word with you, so I'm gonna head back to my station. I will talk to both of you later. Oh, what now?
And as you step out, pad in hand, chasing down whatever errand it has you running at, we're left with V and Avicii just almost awkwardly across the table from one another. And V kind of leans in, puts her arms or her elbows down on the table, makes a fist, and then puts that fist into the palm of the other hand and says, I didn't want to say this in front of everyone, but you as captain deserve to know.
Okay.
All what I just said about objective observers, all that, it's true. But there's also a little caveat to that. Once you become objective, you don't just suddenly go back to being subjective. I mean, I know I'm sort of an antithema to what I just said, but let me put it to you this way. You don't just leave things behind. You don't just go back and fix everything and resume your past life. Once you're like this, and she motions around at everything, that's your job for the rest of your life.
So we don't get to go home.
Well, I was going to put it more delicately, but yes. Getting home, it's a nice goal. It's what the Krenim tried to do, trying to fix their own timeline, and, well, let's just say Voyager paid the price for it in certain realities, but at the end of the day, the only way to fix and return to reality is either an active Q or as Mir suggested, putting down your hammer, putting down your sword, and just picking a time to live in.
It's going to take me a little bit of time to process that.
As I thought it would. Well, that's honestly all I had. I'll see you eventually in my office.
Right.
And I think Ensign V leaves at that point, and if we can sort of imagine the camera sort of panning over to Abbacy, zooming in a little bit, and then it sort of pans out to the stars, and that's where we'll end today's episode. So yeah, you guys were worried that we wouldn't be able to fill time, but I thought we did very well with our scenes that you guys came up with. So that was fun.
It was fun to get to kind of, as a group before the session, kind of talk about the directions we wanted to head and then enact those scenes. I think all of us got a moment to develop these characters. We've, at least for myself, I've fallen in love with all of you guys. So loving these characters. So yeah, it was really cool.
Cool. All right. So Twitch, stick around for a little bit longer, but YouTube, this is where we say goodbye. So bye YouTube.